It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Duts. I'm your host, Mains, and my colleague in the danger zone in Rainford. It's Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
Very, very well, sir. Yourself?
I'm good. Premature guest ejaculation from you there today on the Twitter.
Indeed. What can I say? You know, it happens to us all. I'm not proud of it, but ultimately, I've done it before, and I'll do it again.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. It wasn't. It's because you love the guest too much. Yeah, just have to let people know.
It's not stalking. It's just selective walking.
It's selective walking, indeed, Neil. Indeed.
But he'll be with us next week.
He will be with us next week, so we will leave you in suspense. But let's be brutally honest, Dutton. This week it's the NFC East. We shouldn't really, if we're brutally honest, need assistance in this division, given that our two teams are in it and also our most hated rivals.
I think we've got it.
I think we've got this one covered. Trying to stay impartial and logical while also thinking, God, I wish my team was better.
You think that?
While you think, can I book tickets for Atlanta?
I'll just sip this caviar.
Idiot. As always, same kind of concept on the preview. We'll give you the ins and outs in the team. A big question. Neil will give you a fantasy breakout and a fantasy broke. We'll look at their win total. We'll then give you the home road schedules, and then we'll say whether we believe they are champs or chumps. Not necessarily champs as in winning the whole goddamn thing, but more a case of related to that win total. So, are you ready to do this, Dawn?
Because only one team can win it all.
Only one team can win it all. And last season, Neil, who was that? A team in this division. That's correct.
The Eagles of Philadelphia.
The Eagles of Philadelphia. So, Neil, let's get this started with our favourite team. And everybody's favourite team. Actually, a team so favourite that they've been christened America's team.
By
themselves. That's the Dallas Cowboys. In terms of the change, Coney Ely, Alan Hearns, the fantastically named Leighton Vander Esch, who's a linebacker from Boise State, and Connor Williams, who doesn't even have to move house. He was a guard for Texas. Outs, Des Bryant and Orlando Scandrick, really. Big question, really, for the Dallas Cowboys. 2 years ago, excellent offensive line, playoffs. Last season, offensive line not quite as good, few injuries, not in the playoffs. Does this mean a return to a good offensive line equals playoffs for the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, the point has been made. It was the downturn in form of the offensive line that hurt the Cowboys more so than the suspension for Ezekiel Elliott. Because the first game where Tyron Smith was injured and didn't play, the Falcons, who don't have a great pass rush, beat Dak Prescott like a ginger stepchild. They sacked him 8 times. So it's hard to say. We know what the Cowboys want to do. They want to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. So that means that's great news for Ezekiel Elliott. The problem is that I know you want to run the ball. I would hope most NFL defensive coaches know you're going to run the ball. So you have to be able to respect the passing game. No one is going to respect the Cowboys' passing game because they have done possibly the worst job of surrounding their talented young quarterback with receiving talent of any NFL team south of Buffalo. Where are my numbers here? Dallas last year, they passed on 52.1% of their plays. That was the third lowest rate in the NFL. The offense, we know it's not particularly varied. It wasn't very good. They did have the 7th most red zone plays in the NFL. They had 9.1 red zone plays per game. They were 9th in yards per drive and 9th in points per drive. But the problem is, it's as we saw the back end of the season, even when Ezekiel Elliott came in, the receiving talent on the team it just was not productive enough that Dak Prescott threw the same number of touchdowns as Carson Wentz after Carson Wentz tore his ACL. And I will continue to make that point because Prescott had 4 more games after it. Now, I like Dak. I'm not, I'm not one of these, Prescott or Wentz. Well, can't they both be good? Why not? Why can't we enjoy them both? But the Eagles last year went out and got weapons to help Carson Wentz. The Cowboys have gone out of their way to take weapons away from him. They cut Des Bryant. Say what you like about him. He wasn't very good last year. No, he wasn't. But they did dirty by him by how late they cut him. They lost Jason Witten, so they haven't really replaced him with a receiving tight end of consequence. The defense, it might be better. Leighton Vander Esch is, he's a very promising player. I know Fran Duffy spoke quite highly of him. But again, you just look at this team and think the pass rush is meh. And if Sean Lee can stay healthy, great. But the corners are trash. The safeties are inconsistent. And ultimately, if they get behind, can they play catch up? If they get into down by 10 points, they're just going to keep running the ball, presumably. I mean, over the last 2 years, they have run on 48% of their plays when the game is within 7 points. That is, it's well above, it's below league average. And they run when they're behind by 3 or more points on 40% of their plays. Again, well above league average. It's not a team that is built to come from behind. If they can get on a lead and they can keep feeding Ezekiel Elliott, then yeah, they can be competitive because we know how good the offensive line is. But if they get behind in games, or they have to, it turns into a shootout. I don't think they've got the horses to run that type of race, and I just think it'll be a long season for them.
I just looked up and I think you've hit regardless of whether they were good or not last season, losing Des Bryant and Jason Witten is a massive loss, and they haven't really replaced either of them. When I say that, I'm sure if you read the Dallas Morning News or whatever, they'll tell you that you don't need a number 1 wide receiver to make the playoffs, and that is actually true. I'd like a number 2 though, even maybe a number 3. And
just a quick one: 56% of their targets from last season have gone.
Not on the team. Not really. If you're trying to make your young franchise quarterback successful, you'd like to surround it with successful things. Okay. Your offensive line's good. You've got Ezekiel Elliott. He's talented, absolutely, no doubt about that. But who are you going to throw to? Who are you going to throw to? At the moment, I'm not sure you're going to throw to anyone.
And it's not as if Ezekiel Elliott is a decent pass catcher, but he's not in the Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson pantheon of pass catching, and they're not creative enough to use him.
We're going to say they're not that creative of an offense anyway to even do that, even if they were. Dallas Cowboys, whether we like it or not, they're like Man U, right? Doesn't matter how good they are or how bad they are, they're news. So at the start of the season, there's always big expectations. As you said, last year they weren't great, and with the exception of their offensive line being healthy, I think they've got worse in terms of talent. Okay, Dak Prescott's another year into the system, that could help. Ezekiel Elliott, 16 games, again, help. But is it just going to be them two and no one else on the offense? As you said, you're basically relying that you don't fall behind. That's an issue, right? I don't know if that's the best way of going about things. You need to have a way of scoring 30 points. And I'm not sure they have a way of scoring 30 points easily without Ezekiel Elliott running for 250 yards in a game.
I mean, you can argue most things. It would not, in my opinion, be beyond the realm of possibility that Ezekiel Elliott leads the NFL in rush attempts, rush yards, and the Cowboys finish with a sub 8-8 record.
Absolutely, Neil. Absolutely. Let's move on to the fantasy side of things. We're not too high on the offense. So who's going to be the fancy breakout on the Dallas Cowboys?
Now, you remember, I'm not a huge fan of Kelvin Benjamin for Buffalo, but I said they have to throw to someone. And that's what we have with Dallas. I've got Alan Hearns. Hearns was released by Jacksonville in the off-season, so he came over to Dallas. He signed a 2-year deal, which, as we know, is probably going to be 1 year, then we'll see. In 2015, for Jacksonville, with Blake Bortles at quarterback, he had 64 receptions, 1,031 yards and 10 touchdowns. So he has got a season on his resume with a below-average quarterback. He can be a fantasy impact maker. As we say this time, then he was competing with Allen Robinson. Now he's got no one. So you think, you have Alan Hearns, who's available. He's the wide receiver 43, according to Fancy Football Calculator. So he's going at the back end of the 9th round. So basically you're getting a team's starting and leading wide receiver in the 10th round. It's worth a flyer. So it's not great, but he could catch fire. He's shown he can catch touchdowns. He can find the end zone. It's not a bad dart throw for his to get, as I say, a potential wide receiver 1 of an NFL team in the 10th round.
Who's their fantasy broke, Neil?
The tight ends. They're used to having one tight end who they lean on, who's on the field for most of the plays, who's going to get a lot of red zone work, he's going to get a lot of the targets in the middle of the field. That's Jason Witten. He's gone. It looks as if they're going to try and replace him with a committee approach. Well, good luck at that in fantasy terms, because none of them are standing out. None of them are particularly good. None of them have a track record of college dominance to fall back on. So the Cowboys are going from a team where you could pencil in a quality tight end. It's gone.
Okay, so win total, as we quite rightly pointed out, people love the Cowboys. Win total is 8.5. They have home games against the Lions, the Jags, the Titans, the Saints, and the Bucks. They are on the road to the Panthers, the Seahawks, the Texans, the Falcons, and the Colts. 8.5. Neil, are the Dallas Cowboys champs or chumps?
I'm going to say chumps. I'm going to have to take the under, because I just don't think running this 1970s form of offense is sustainable. They brought in Ezekiel Elliott and they made the point it was to help the defense. That's a lovely story. That was 3 seasons ago. You should have helped the defense by yourself and don't trust it on him. Now, as I say, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that Ezekiel Elliott has a wonderful MVP-style season, but the team is totally garbage. And I think it's likelier to be garbage than anything. They're not terrible. They'll be just good enough that they can't make any real impact in the draft next year. But I don't see them challenging for anything beyond that.
Yeah, they're an 8-8 team, aren't they? I think they're always an 8-8 team. They're perpetually an 8-8, and then every 5th year they'll go 13-3 and then lose in the playoffs. The schedule isn't terrible. I think it's much easier than some of the other teams in the division, just given the way it sets out. But yeah, I'm going to say 8-8. They're chumps, and I like saying that because I hate Dallas the most.
In case anyone was wondering, so do I.
Yeah. I think yeah. If you don't hate Dallas, if you're an NFC team and you don't hate Dallas, you must support them. Next team, Neil. Yeah, and even then you probably hate them a little bit. Next team, New York Football Giants. Nate Solder, or Soldier, depending on who you are. Michael Thomas and Saquon Barkley was their draft pick from Penn State. Out, Justin Pugh, Brandon Marshall, Shane Vereen, and Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie. The question for the New York Football Giants is, do they draft a quarterback high next season then? Well,
I spoke with Ryan Dunleavy of NJ Advanced Media for his radio, the RV32 team preview series. He wasn't holding out a lot of hope that this team is, going to be great this year. But I think a lot of his misgivings are more on the other side of the ball. Eli Manning's trash and has been trash for a few years now. Let's just have a quick look at his numbers. In the last 4 seasons, his yards per attempt, 7.3, 7.2, 6.7, 6.1. That's a trend. That's not a blip. Now, this team goes as the quarterback goes, and unfortunately, Eli Manning has been terrible for the last few years. His numbers continue to drop. So instead of hiding him, they exposed him more and more. They passed the ball on 61.9% of their plays last year. That was the fourth most in the NFL. Points per drive, they were dead last. 1.24 points per drive. They had 64.7 plays per game. That was 10th. 6.4%. Sorry, they had 6.4 red zone plays per game. That was 26th. This team was absolutely awful on offense. They averaged, 5.72 yards per attempt. Once Odell Beckham got injured, in the remaining 11 games of the season, Eli Manning threw 11 touchdown passes. Again, this is not the 1970s. So what have they done? They've gone out to try and replace the glory days of the 1970s. They've brought in a bell cow running back. They've brought in a short yardage bruiser in Jonathan Stewart, who, keep it to yourself, looked finished last year. They tried to, replenish the guard. They brought in, Nate Solder at left tackle. They drafted Will Hernandez. But the problem is that this offensive line, which was garbage anyway, is going to have 5 players not playing in the position that they were in for the Giants last year. Potentially, it's not going to be 5 new starters, but if they have Eric Flowers over at right tackle, it's 5 new players in terms of where they played last year. Defense was terrible last year after being exceptional the year before. So now they're playing in a new scheme that they don't have enough players to fit. They're going to be high enough to draft any quarterback they want, I suspect, because they're going to be crap.
I like that. They've got the thought experiment is can you win with a if you've got a quarterback you'll win regardless of talent, and they've decided that we'll get a load of talented skill players and then have no quarterback and see if that can hide the fact that we haven't got a quarterback. So you got Odell Beckham Jr., Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, the lot. But you've still got Eli Manning, who, as you said, was probably finished 2 years ago. Okay, he'll still beat Washington twice, but he always beats Washington. That's not really clever. The attempted to fix the offensive line with Nate Solder, for example. The elephant in the room is that Nate Solder had to protect Tom Brady for 1.8 seconds. He's gonna have to protect Eli Manning longer than that, and I don't know if he can. I was watching Good Morning Football and saying, at least Tiki Barber was saying, now with Saquon Barkley they'll be able to do more under center, play action, and I'm like, yeah, cool. And then by the time that he's turned around, he will have been mauled by a defensive end. It's not a great story. Defense isn't great. This is the worst team in the NFC East. And again, they have a load of hype. They're in New York, blah, blah, blah. They're terrible. They're not good. Eli Manning's not good. We can argue forever about Eli Manning, and I would do, because as far as I'm concerned, he's heading to be the worst quarterback to ever get into the Hall of Fame. But he's going there. He's won 2 Super Bowls. Bravo to him. My team hasn't won any since then. So congratulations to the New York Football Giants. But you had a chance to draft a quarterback, and you didn't. You drafted a running back. I believe that's a mistake, regardless of how good Saquon Barkley is. Saquon Barkley is going to be good for 4 years. You've had Eli Manning for 15.
I'd say the offensive line, which, as we say, was an issue, they were actually 23rd in sack rate allowed. They only allowed a sack on 5.8% of their plays, but this is slightly misleading because, as we saw in games, what does Eli Manning do as soon as he sniffs pressure? He throws the ball on the floor.
Absolutely. And he spent all their time, 90% of his plays in shotgun as well. It doesn't really count, do you know what I mean?
They also, as I say, defensively, they had the 3rd lowest forced sack rate in the NFL. So they respond to this by changing their system and sending Jason Pierre-Paul to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers without aggressively targeting new players to come in and change the scheme. It's, as you say, they're the worst team in the NFC East for me, and it's not even close. Although if this may gladden your heart, their yards per carry as a team was 3.93, which was not the lowest of an NFC East team.
What? Say that stat again.
Their yards per carry as a team was 3.93.
Yeah, I know.
It's not the lowest of an
not.
NFC East team.
It's not. I know who the lowest is. Thank you. Let's spoiler alert. It'll be the last team we talk about. And spoiler alert, this is in alphabetical order. Neil, who the fantasy breakout on the New York Giants?
Well, we've say that they want to run the ball. They're going to give it to Saquon Barkley. Now, by definition, then Saquon Barkley is going to need spelling at times. They brought in Jonathan Stewart. He's finished. He hasn't got it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually lost out to Wayne Gallman. Now, Gallman wasn't terribly great last year. He wasn't awful, but any running back in a team that passes the ball as often as the Giants is going to have to do something spectacular when he's got the ball. He finished... where are we? He actually had 40 or more receiving yards in 3 of the Giants' last 4 games last season. So he's shown he can come in and not be a mug when they want to pass the ball. He's not a bad running back. He's probably one of the more steady Bama running backs to come into the NFL. I believe he was from Alabama. He was Clemson, wasn't he? Wayne Gallman. Yeah. Dig at Alabama running backs there, but I'm right. Yeah, he's not terrible. He's going undrafted at the moment in fantasy drafts. So again, he's not someone you have to rush out and get. He's just someone if you want to select handcuffs. Personally, I don't. But if you draft Saquon Barkley early, you might want to pick up Wayne Gallman late.
On the Saquon Barkley thing, Neil, do you know where he's going in drafts in terms of running backs? Saquon
Barkley is going in the top 10. Probably towards the back end of the top 10. But I've seen drafts where he's going 7th.
Okay.
Volume drives fancy football.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely. Yeah, it's not, and I think he'll be good. Like, I do think he'll be good. He's unbelievable talent. And if you got the chance to watch him at Penn State, he was unbelievable. I'm just interested to see if that hype, if the hype got him further up fancy draft boards. It didn't. Neil,
he had to have been incredible at Penn State because they didn't block for him.
No, they didn't. But it's college, and it's college, and they don't need to. They do in the pros. Who's fancy broke on a Giants?
Available very early in the 14th round, your QB 21, Eli Manning. Why would you bother?
Yeah. Win total for the Giants is 6.5. They got home games against the Jags, the Saints, the Bucks, the Bears, and the Titans. And you've got road losses to the Texans, the Panthers, the Falcons, the 49ers, and the Colts. Good luck winning any of them games. 6.5, Neil. Champs or chumps?
Chumps. I'll take the under.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's a 4 or 5 win team for me. And I'm not kidding, that out of conference road schedule, Texans, Panthers, Falcons, 49ers especially. And if the Colts are anything under with Andrew Luck, which they have been every time he's played, yeah, they're not winning any of them games. They'll probably lose to the Jags and the Saints and the Titans. So we're struggling to find wins. Obviously, they'll get their standard win against Washington in Washington because they do that. But whatever.
Of course.
And next, Dutton. Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Did we just say that again, Neil? Did you feel all warm inside still hearing that? Still make you feel good? Charles Davis said you're allowed to gloat about it forever, so...
On to Atlanta.
Inns. Hello, Dinata.
In more ways than one.
Hello, Dinata. Mike Wallace. Dallas Goddard was the draft pick. Tight end, South Dakota State. Neil could probably tell you about the 15th round draft pick and who he picked up on waivers 3 weeks ago. But, if you want that, listen to John Barshard on Bleeding Green Nation. Out, Vinnie Curry, Brent Selleck, Trey Burton, Patrick Robinson. Big question, Dutton. Are the champs better this year? # repeat.
The major difference is that no one expected the Eagles to be challenging for the Super Bowl in 2017. So it's hard to look and say, easily that they're better because it's just the same. It's to a large part, it's the same players. So it's a question of these players are now, I don't like to use the term, but more battle tested. They obviously have brought in some more proven performers, the likes of, Mike Wallace, Michael Bennett. These people, have done it at a high level. Haloti Ngata as well. These are people who are going to come in and help on the defence. We saw last year that they like to rotate the defence to keep everyone fresh. That meant then in the playoffs they could just say to Fletcher Cox, right, off you go. They could say that to Chris Long. They could say it to Timmy Jernigan. I'm not going to say the Eagles are better because obviously they have lost. There are losses off the field as well. They've lost Pat Shurmur. Not Pat Shurmur. They lost him a long time ago. They lost John DeFilippo. He's gone to the Minnesota. They lost Frank Reich. He's gone to Indianapolis. So it's going to be. There's a new offensive coordinator. It's Mike Groh, who was the wide receiver coach. We'll see how the dynamic now works because it was revealed. I can't remember which podcast I was listening to, but I think it might have been Fantasy Live that one of John DeFilippo's big areas of responsibility for the Eagles last year was red zone play design and play calling, and that's gone now. So obviously they're going to still, there's still a lot of what they did last year still going to be there. But any new wrinkles, we're going to have to see how good Grow and the run game coordinator that is Deuce Staley do. Defense, I say Vinnie Curry was a solid player, but he wasn't anything special. Derek Barnett is probably going to take his place, but as you say, it's still a very strong-looking squad, and it's got an awful lot of the IR brigade coming back, including, obviously, the man himself, Carson Wentz. So, being naturally pessimistic as I am, I just want to get back to the playoffs, and we'll see how we go. But I think this is still the best team in the NFC East, certainly.
I think, yeah. Let's be brutally honest. He won the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. And
Big Dick Nick.
Yeah. For those who are unsure how good coaching is, watch his performance against Oakland and Dallas, and then watch his performance in the Super Bowl. I'm going to say coaching because otherwise I'd insinuate something illegal. Wentz looks fit. I hope he is. I hope they don't rush him back. They don't need to rush him back, as proven by the fact that Nick Foles is there. Talent all over the field. Got a defensive line that gets after the quarterback and can also stop the run. I think they almost created not a new way to win, but reminded people of a way to win. Don't give quarterbacks time. Be sensible and creative on offense. They did both of those things and they won the Super Bowl. I don't see any reason why they don't win this division. I don't really see any reason why they don't get a bye. And therefore, if they got a bye, I don't see any reason why they're not playing in the NFC Championship game.
As you say, on defense, they allowed the 5th fewest plays per drive, the 4th fewest points per drive, and the 5th fewest yards per drive. They allowed less than 6.5 yards per attempt and 3.3 yards per carry. And bear in mind, they were ahead, so they only trailed on 30.1% of the plays. So a lot of the times teams went into garbage. We had to go into, the run went out the window. They had to throw a lot, so there were easy yards to be had, but teams still couldn't get them. Obviously, one of the big questions is the identity of the slot nickel corner, because Patrick Robinson did a great job there. Has gone to New Orleans, so we don't know, is it going to be Sidney Jones? Is it going to be Avonte Maddox? Is Jalen Mills going to kick inside? Is Ronald Darby going to kick inside? I don't think the Eagles know themselves yet, so they're still working out the kinks. But as you say, they're going to hunt and destroy quarterbacks. And if people can bring up but they gave up 500 yards in the Super Bowl, to Tom Brady, not to Johnny Ragass from somewhere. They gave up 500 yards in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady in a shootout. Which
by the way, they won. On other notes, we're quibbling about who's going to play slot corner on the defense. Woe is the Philadelphia Eagles. I miss miserable Philadelphia. And the sooner Jim Schwartz is a garbage head coach again, the better. Neil, who's the fancy breakout on the champs?
It's a very deep breakout because I can't see him playing an awful lot of snaps early on, and that saddens me because I do actually love the boy. That's Mac Hollins. He had 14.1 yards per reception as a rookie last year. He caught 72.7% of his targets. He's 6'4", 221 pounds, and he has 33 1/4 inch arms. He's a deep threat. He's got speed. He's got speed to burn. Back in college, he had 80 receptions for the Tar Heels, 22 of which were touchdowns. He's a big play waiting to happen. And also, he practices without gloves, but wears gloves when he plays. He had a 64-yard touchdown reception last year, 53 yards of which came through the air from Carson Wentz. Can you name the team?
Of course I can name the flipping team.
Yeah, that was fun. That was the game where Carson Wentz escaped 15 Redskin defenders.
Oh my god! Took me back to Don McNabb doing a very similar thing. Just tackle the. Sorry, carry on.
As I say, Matt Collins he's not being drafted at the moment in standard 12-team PPR leagues. So again, I think he would need something to happen to Mike Wallace to get more snaps. He is that type of player. He's the deep threat, replacing Torrey Smith. But I think Wallace is going to get first dibs at that.
Mike Wallace's first dibs of running in a straight line very fast.
Apparently, he's quite good at it.
Yeah, breaking news. Running a fast line.
As you say, undrafted, don't need to rush out and get him. Just keep an eye on him, especially if you're after, if you went low cost with Mike Wallace.
Who's fancy broke, Neil?
It pains me to say, just because I think there's too many other people who will get the work instead of him, but that's Darren Sproles. He's one of the IR brigade who's returning. He played on, I think it was about 64% of the snaps in the 2 games he played last year before he broke his arm and tore his ACL on the same play. I think most of the work he's going to get this season is going to be as a returner. Corey Clement, say, got 100 receiving yards in the Super Bowl. He's shown he's going to be no mug on passing down. Jay Ajayi isn't a terrible pass catcher either. But I think it's going to need probably another injury, probably to Clement, for Sproles to get any significant playing time. He'll still chip in, but again, he's going undrafted at the moment, and I think if you need Sproles, he'll still be there on the waiver wire in the early weeks of the season. But he only needs, I think it's 500 yards, all-purpose yards, to get into the top 5 all-time. So if he's going to get them, I think he's going to have to get most of them on returns.
Win total, Neil's 10.5. Home games against the Falcons, obviously, to open the season. Colts, Vikings, Panthers and Texans. Road games against the Bucks, the Titans, and then 3 very tricky games, the Jags, the Saints and the Rams. 10.5, Neil.
The Jags, of course, is at Wembley Stadium.
Is at Wembley, yes. Where,
one of the irrefutable truths of the universe, you don't spit into the wind, you don't stand on Superman's cape, and you don't take on Blake Bortles at Wembley. I will take the over, not a hard over. It's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be 13-3, 14-2, but 12-4, 11-5. You can certainly see it, and another NFC East division title. First team to repeat as division champs since the 2004 Philadelphia Eagles.
Since the last time he did it. Yeah, 12-4 for me. Some good games though. Vikings, Falcons, Saints, Rams. With the exception of possibly the Packers, you're basically going to meet all of your rivals for those playoff spots in the NFC place in the Super Bowl. But too good for the rest of the division, I think.
It's quite weird, actually, before we get to them. I think of the 3 other teams, the one who has probably done the best job of trying to catch the Eagles without, trying to at least keep pace is the team we're about to talk to, who we do mock most of the time.
I mock because I love, and it hurts me. You mock because it's funny. And that team we're talking about is the. By the way, we're both saying the Eagles are champs. I think I've said they're going to the NFC Championship game pretty much. Is next team we're going to talk about is my Washington semi-professional football team. The change ends. Alex Smith, quarterback. Paul Richardson, overpaid wide receiver. Phil Taylor, fat defensive lineman. Deron Payne. Injured, both defensive lineman, Alabama, and everyone's new hero, Darius Geis. Out.
Sorry. Character concerns, Darius Geis.
Character concerns, Darius Geis. Character seems to make him break 5 tackles and score a touchdown. In what I'm seeing, out.
Actually, as well, did you see what he did today?
No, I haven't seen today.
I believe he jumped over the fence and was serving in a retail area.
Fantastic.
Well, as I say, he's a
personality. He's got a personality, as we are fully aware, you're not allowed to have a personality in the NFL.
Here it is. He jumped over the ropes into the public area and was signing autographs for employees in the team store. Amazing.
Yeah, personality, don't allow it. Out, Kurt Cousins. Kurt Coupons. Terrell Pryor, Trent Murphy, and Kendall Fuller.
Well, not your mission.
Changes to the defense. I don't know if you know, the defense wasn't great. Big question is change your quarterback, but no change to the offense. Do I talk, or do you want to?
Well, another RV32 that I did with Mark Bullock, who's English like us.
I was going to say English and writes for the Washington Post. That is a job that he stole from me, surely.
Yes, yeah. Apparently, though, I've never ever read anything he wrote where it included the phrase "you useless."
Yeah, that's true.
He's a little bit more thoughtful with his language. We spoke, and I said, I did ask, is Alex Smith just basically going to get plucked into the Jay Gruden offense? Mark Bullock seems to think that Jay Gruden will do a good job of altering the offense to suit Alex Smith. Which Alex Smith is it going to be? Is it going to be the dink and dunker from 2013 to 2016, or the mad gunslinger that we saw last year? And ultimately, that's a big question.
It's the former, not the latter, Dutton. Although maybe he took the shackles off, but it's not really in Jay's remit to throw bombs all the time. Do you know what I mean? It's not. He does it. As we talked about on the NFC North, I loved last year and last few years watching Kirk Cousins overthrow one of the fastest wide receivers I've ever seen multiple times. So
you'll be pleased to know, though, of course, again, just little callback to the interview with Mark when I said the red zone was Gruden or Cousins, and he said it was Cousins.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I listened to that interview and I recommend any Washington Redskins fan, and actually anyone, to listen to the RotoViz RV32. There are excellent breakdowns of each teams. I've actually been asked to write some information on the Washington semi-professional football team, and that will be coming out later this month, I think. That's my question. Like, whose fault was it that we kept? I think if the Skins improve their red zone efficiency by even 25%, then they'll have a chance to be a top 5 offense. If they don't, they will rack up loads of yards, and I will kick things as Dustin Hopkins kicks another 26-yard field goal. I don't think I can say it more eloquently than I've already said it. They need to get in the end zone, like really. It's 6. Just to let everybody know, even if we don't include the extra point, 6 points is more than 3 points. It's basic math.
It's math.
6 points is more than 3 points, so the more he can get in, the better. One of the things that didn't help them last year is Washington had 36 different offensive line lineups last season. No Reed, which I know we can't rely on, but no Trent Williams. And then on the defense, they drafted Jonathan Allen to help shore up the defensive line, and he never played, and the terrible offensive line. So what teams should be good at on defense and offense, right? You should be able to run the ball and stop the run. Washington misinterpreted that as allow teams to run all over them and get less than 3.7 yards a carry.
Yeah. 3.61 yards per carry for, 4.26 yards per carry against. And as you say, the offensive line woes, the Redskins allowed the 9th highest sack rate of all the NFL.
Yeah. Smith is more mobile than Cousins. That may help. Trent Williams being fit will obviously help. He is a top level offensive lineman, much better than any of those dudes who've just been paid an absolute wedge in the past week. Darius Guice needs to run the ball. It needs to work. That 3.6 needs to become 4 plus, and the 4.2 needs to become 3.6. If those things happen, Washington are actually talented. Like, don't tell anyone, but there's a chance that they are. For me, they're better than the Giants and they're better than the Cowboys. If they don't finish ahead of them, they will have stupidly lost possibly 2 or 3 games, which will absolutely fall on the head coach. Because although I think he's a talented defensive play caller, he's a terrible game manager. He's got he's like Andy Reid level time management and game situation. Needs to be taken out of his hands. That's how bad he is at it, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, though. When we got him in, I thought, oh God, we picked the worst Gruden. Don't worry, we haven't.
I think it's, as you say, an awful lot of the problems with Washington is that the best players they've had on offense over the last couple of years don't play more than 12 games. That's Jordan Reed and Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson was stupidly efficient last year. That's not going to be repeated. He's still going to be a decent player, but he's not going to average 7.8 yards per touch, on receptions and carries. He's not going to do that. It's just a question of. Darius Guice doesn't really have much of a pass-catching pedigree, as I say. He only averaged 1.5 receptions per game in college, but he averaged 104 rushing yards, so I don't know what you want here. So.
Can we just for those who don't watch college, you're thinking, oh God, only one. He played for LSU. They only had 1.5 throws a game. So let's not, this guy got over 1,000 yards for LSU while Leonard Fournette was trying to win the Heisman. For those who are interested in Darius Guice hype train, Chris Thompson told John Keim of ESPN that he won't likely be fully recovered from his broken fibula until November.
Now, I took in the RotoViz NFL 10 mock, I took Darius Guice at the back end of round 2 in a move that was labelled as one of the 3 most shocking in the entire draft. But my reasoning was that of the players that were around, I believe that he had the best profile to be a workhorse, to see the most carries, and also that he'd get natural passing work, not being a third down specialist, given how often Alex Smith with Kansas City would target the running back on first and second downs.
Correct.
Now, again, if Jay Gruden is as creative as we seem to think he is, passing on desperation and third downs, so you have to put a running back in, is not the most efficient way to go. So if you keep mixing it up, Guice doesn't have to be Le'Veon Bell. But as long as he's not Jordan Howard, he's going to be okay.
Absolutely, Neil. Who's the fancy breakout star on the Washington team?
The fancy breakout star, and it is a massive, massive if. He stays healthy. Given his current ADP, Jordan Reed at the moment is the tight end 10, with an ADP between the middle of the 8th and the end of the 9th round. As I spoke with Mark Bullock, he doesn't think there's a better route-running tight end in football than Jordan Reed. He started last season injured. He was just getting over his injury when he got injured again. There is always the worry that Jordan Reed is one head injury away from being told, you need to stop.
Correct.
But if he's fit and healthy and can stay fit and healthy at that ADP, if you don't feel like waiting for the very end, you don't want to stream and you don't want a real dart throw at tight end, that's great value.
Who's fancy broke, Neil?
Again, I'm not saying broke, but I'm just saying at current ADP, I'm not comfortable taking him. That's Jamison Crowder. Now, Crowder didn't do too badly last season. He started slow, but he did come on towards the end. He led the team in targets, receptions, and receiving yards. In his first 6 games, he averaged 24.8 receiving yards per game. But I would say he was the wide receiver 16 in PPR from week 8 to 17. The only issue I have is, and again, we're going to go blue sky thinking here and assume that Jordan Reed is healthy. In the last 2 years of games where Reed has played, Crowder averages more than 2 PPR points less per games, even though the target and reception numbers are fairly similar. So when Reed's there, he's not as big an impact player. So if we're going to assume that Reed is healthy, which we have to if we're going to say he's a breakout, then that means Crowder, as the wide receiver 34, I'm not really comfortable. I saw some drafts, a fancy football calculator, he was going ahead of the likes of Michael Crabtree, who I think could actually be a lot better because he's actually going to be in an offense where he might get used as opposed to last year. So I just think, with the types of players you get around him, the end of the 7th round is a little bit too early for Crowder, assuming Reed is fit. If Reed's injured, fill your boots. But let's try and be positive.
Absolutely, Neil. Win total 6.5, same as the New York Football Giants. Outrageous. Home games against the Colts, the Packers. I love the fact I have no idea how the hell we've got the Packers in this. I have no idea. Panthers, Falcons and Texans. I know with scheduling, I'm just saying it sounds ridiculous because we were rubbish last year. I guess they were too. Road games against the Cardinals, the Saints, the Bucks, the Jags and Titans. A tough road schedule. Champs or chumps on Washington, Neil?
I will say the champs because, as I say, I do have faith in Jay Gruden as a play caller. I think he's got some nice pieces, assuming everyone can stay fit and healthy. The defence was not terrible last year, and I think it has got better. Granted, you traded away the best slot cornerback in the NFL for a 34-year-old quarterback coming off a major outlier season. I may have mentioned it.
Not heard it, Neil. Not mentioned it to me.
No, but if you've still got in the modern NFL, especially more than ever, if you've got a cornerback who you literally can just say go and take him away from the game, you've cut the field in a third by at least a third, and that's what Josh Norman has shown he can do. Now, he wasn't as good last year because teams were not afraid to go at him. Well, now the defense potentially looks a bit more like, ooh, we need to be a bit clever here. Stay away from the really good guy. And as I say, Washington's the forced sack rate was 4th in the NFL. Simon Kerrigan, he's the failed England's one-test wonder. Ryan Kerrigan, vastly underrated defensive player. One of the most underrated players in the NFL, I think. Needs help. And obviously, Washington have got out of the way. They got Jonathan Allen last year, and the boy, is it Payne?
Yeah, they're on Payne
at the moment.
Yeah, he is in Payne 2 to 3 weeks.
It's not the same system as the Eagles, but it's the same mentality. Get the bodies in, rotate, attack, destroy.
Stop the run, get off the field. If they stop the run and get off the field, the team averages 28 points every game. Like it'd average 50 if they didn't kick all them field goals. But they've moved the ball consistently under Jay Gruden. It's all the time. If they can get off the field on 3rd down, then we're in business. It's an 8-8, 9-7 team. Playoff chances if things go their way.
Is this Gruden's walk year?
I don't know. To be honest, I'd need to check. It could be though.
17,
I think it might be.
That's 5 years. So
yeah. I don't know. I think it's more talented than it has been in a very long time. But Washington has a way to balls these things up, so we'll see.
Yeah, you're just as likely to be in the shout of a wildcard berth as you are to be looking for a head coach.
Absolutely.
In November.
Absolutely, Neil. Absolutely. That's it from the NFC East. I guess we're not as high as everyone else, and probably like Washington more than others, while everyone else loves Dallas and New York, but that's normal. We study these things, and we have an opinion on the other two. Maybe tilt us to the bad side, but whatever.
I think it's a terrible division. Let's drop ranks. I think
exactly.
It's trash.
It's not good. Like, but people love watching it. So what can you do?
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as the AFC East, but
not,
I think there's one genuine contender. There's one team that can make some noise, and there's one team that's better than it thinks it is, and another team that's utter crap.
Yep, absolutely, Neil. Absolutely. That's it for this week. Next week, though, Neil, AFC South. Few more talented teams, I think. Few more chances for teams to make noise.
And lots of change. We talked about how there was no change in the AFC North, but next week, as you say, the AFC South, just looking ahead, you've got Indianapolis, new head coach. You've got Tennessee, new head coach. You've got Houston, a returning quarterback. You've got Indianapolis, potentially returning quarterback. And also you've got one of the best defenses of the modern era. So there's certainly a lot of noise to be made about the AFC South. And don't worry, because if we don't talk about it, they'll tell you themselves.
They absolutely will, Neil. Want to plug anything before we go?
As I say, if you search the hashtag RV32, you'll see the team preview series. Bunch of us from Rotoviz, myself, Colin Kelly, Mike Randall. We interview a beat writer from a team. We ask them a bunch of questions, get their thoughts and feelings about how the team's moving, and then we use the Rotoviz tools to break down some of the things that we talked about in the interview. So far, I've posted 2, one for the New York Giants and one for Washington. Still have to arrange one for the Dallas Cowboys. I need to find a beat writer who will talk to me, but I will be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles with friend of the pod, Jimmy Kempski. So I need to arrange that. And I should have an article out this week for Rotoviz, bounce back candidates, and the bounce back candidate will be Tyrell Williams.
Fantastic. Well, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Me and Neil are off to Munich, so we'll see you on the other side. These top guys are well and truly out.